I will make sure that each one of you would be enjoying this session because there is no PowerPoint presentation. So rest assured, I'm not going to tell you read section, rules, bylaws, but definitely I'm going to tell you what is GST law and topic given to me. Government is going so fast. Are we going at the pace of government? Very interesting one. See what happened on 14 June 2016, draft model GST law was provided on public domain for public comments. In this draft model GST law, there is Model CGST Act and SGST Act contains 162 sections, 25 chapters, 4 schedules, and 1 valuation, GST valuation rule 2016. Having said that, they have also given IGST Act 2016 containing 33 sections and 11 chapters. Virtually, we are having 195 sections to read. But out of 195 sections, I have run through and I have come across at more than 183 places, draft model GST law says, in a manner as prescribed. In a manner as? More than 183 places. So we were thinking this law has come and it is coming. Why they are repeating the same stuff? That rule would be governing the provision. Rule is always assumed as subordinate of the provision of any particular act. So more than 183 places in a manner as prescribed, so I thought of rule would be coming and we would be given sufficient time to come back, to give suggestion, to provide feedback. What happened? 26th of September and 27th of September 2016, draft rules was provided for registration, invoice, payment, return, and refund. And the time period given just 1 day. Please come back and give your feedback and suggestion. Can you imagine a situation? Are we really going for biggest indirect tax reform in the country? If that be the so, there should have been sufficient time given to us. If this draft rule, which has to be approved by GST Council, why they have not given at the time in the June 2016 itself? Why it was given on 26 and 27 September, and that too within 1 day we have to come back. And within 2 days, 30th September 2016. GST Council has approved draft GST law, and we do not know what rule got approved by GST Council. With the same rule where suggestion demanded, or they have adopted some change therein. We are not aware of. So if you are really adopting the same rule which was given for suggestion just 1 or 2 days before, then what is the need of asking suggestion and feedback? But this is the pace we are running on. So you may be questioning yourself and you may be having query pertaining to that. Sir, what to be done in this case? Shall we stop? Shall we not read GST provision? Shall we not ask the queries? Shall we not ask the queries whether the series would be same? Registration, how the registration would be dealt? How payment would be dealt? How invoice would be made? And advance money, how invoice is being raised? We got different players in our GDP. Broadly, we got manufacturer, sale tax, VAT registered, and service provider. But along with the side, we got luxury tax, entertainment tax, entry tax, so many other players because 17 indirect taxes going to be subsumed in one basket, which is GST. And GST going to give 2% incremental GDP growth. And to my surprise, I was listening just pre-lunch, though we all know GST is a destination-based consumption tax. And we are struggling with where I have to take registration, whether in the state of supply or in the state of consumption. This is only to highlight, are we really prepared? We are the trade members, we are the industry, we are the taxpayer who has to follow the GST provision. But we are struggling, being GST is a destination-based consumption tax. In which state I have to take registration, whether supply state or consumption state. But nevertheless, it got settled down now. We have to take registration in the state where from supply is made, irrespective of fact where it is consumed. And this IGST model is very, very interesting. This takes care of the SGST component of IGST will go to the respective state where goods and services are consumed. This time, we need not require to check in. So we have to take registration. Other person standing up asking, sir, I'm doing at Chhattisgarh like this. Please tell me. Answer was also provided. Immediately I chipped in. I said, no, you can't do like that. You have to determine your transaction whether intrastate or interstate. It is our responsibility. If you misjudge your transaction and pay CGST and SGST for interstate transaction, I have told you the provision section 53 of draft model GST law. So don't go away and carried away with simple talk. Do whatever you like to do. Sorry, sir, if you are doing whatever you like to doing that, then you will end up in big mess. Big mess. And that is the high time. PSD has, for which suggestion was sought, 1 day notice period was given, and within 2 days GST Council adopted. We are discussing those draft rules with so much of subjectivity. And can we say it is 100% if Bimal Jain is saying, or you are saying, believe me not. Believe me not. Maybe I may apply my logical mind and tell you the provision. But telling the provision will again create a question in our mind. Like stock transfer within the state, no GST. Though it is supply. Though it is supply. But interstate, GST applicable. FAQ released by Central Board of Excise and Custom has taken up this query and answered it. But that question is never answering in what context intrastate is not chargeable to GST on stock transfer. When supply is chargeable to GST. So we are going to discuss number of points. I got 3 major points to cover in my technical presentation. I'm going to discuss supply, importance of supply, taxability of GST on supply of goods and services. Then I'm going to touch upon time of supply, point of taxation. Point of taxation we know from service tax angle, but from excise and VAT perspective, we know differently. So we are going to discuss that point as well. Thereafter, I will come and touch upon place of supply, which is important to determine whether a transaction is intrastate, interstate, import, or export. And this is our responsibility that we should determine correct POT, point of taxation, to charge GST and discharge GST liability. If you don't discharge GST liability on time, ready for interest and penalty. And we have to correctly determine whether my transaction is intrastate or interstate. Leave import and export for the time being. So let's start with what is GST and how GST heading for. GST means any taxes on supply of goods or services or both except alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So first of all, we have to understand GST applicable on goods and services. Why this both is being kept? Do we have to have confusion carried on in GST scenario that a particular transaction may be goods and services both together? We are struggling with double taxes today. Why double tax is applicable today? Because central provision is not recognized under state provision, and state provision does not recognize in central provision. Do we want to carry on with the same kind of problem in post-GST? We'll discuss. Alcoholic liquor is being kept out. On top of it, petroleum product, 5 specified product out of GST to be taxable from a date to be notified by GST Council. Then electricity, power sector, directly, indirectly, nowhere stated, but entry 53 of list 2, which is not amended, kept as it is, impliedly meaning even power sector would be out of GST. So 3 major products: alcoholic liquor for human consumption, petroleum products, and power sector going to be out of GST. Now everything going to be chargeable, taxes, GST chargeable on supply. So there would be 2 kinds of transaction, either intrastate and interstate. Intrastate, there would be CGST and SGST, right? Today on intrastate, central excise duty levied and VAT levied, VAT calculated inclusive of central excise duty, cascading. But tomorrow post-GST, there would be CGST and there would be SGST, and SGST will not be calculated inclusive of CGST as the case in existing scenario, because VAT calculated inclusive of excise duty. For interstate, from one state to another state, IGST applicable. And IGST is the sum total of CGST plus SGST. Now, the concern was in our mind that registration need to be taken in which state clarified. State where from we are supplying goods or services. If I'm charging IGST, I'm from Delhi, I'm billing to Haryana, I would be charging IGST. Haryana will get SGST component of IGST only when it is consumed in Haryana. If it is again interstate sale from Haryana to UP, then Haryana will get nothing. You will get the credit of IGST, and this credit will be utilized for IGST liability charge when you are supplying to UP. So ultimately, which state is going to get SGST component? The state where it is going to be destined and consumed. I hope I'm clear about it. Perfect? So this part is over. Now discussion is, what is supply? What is goods? And what is services? Why we need to discuss supply? Because this is going to be taxable event post-GST. GST going to be applicable on supply of goods and services. So what happened for manufacturing, where excise applicable? What happened for sale of goods when VAT applicable or CST applicable? What happened for rendering of service where service tax applicable? Everything going to be subsumed and going away, done away. For us, there would be only one uniform taxable event, that is supply. So term supply is very, very important. So what is the definition of supply in model GST law? Section 3 define what is supply. And to your surprise, the way the term supply is being defined, it is again creating an eye-opener. Are we really heading for litigation-free indirect tax regime? The way the term supply is being defined. How the supply is being defined? Supply is being defined in this manner. Supply includes, without defining what is supply, they are saying supply includes. So term supply is subjective interpretation of Bimal Jain or Mr. Gupta or Mr. XYZ. Then it includes all forms of supply of goods and services. I'm raising my both hands. All forms of supply of goods and, do we need anything thereafter? But believe me, after that there are 5 subsections. So after having this much a bigger definition, there are 5 subsections. And then the definition continues, all forms of supply of goods and services such as sell, transfer, barter, exchange, licensing, leasing, renting, disposal of goods and services made, or agree to be made for a consideration by a person, not to a person, by a person. That is the region we are saying self-supply, stock transfer, branch transfer would be chargeable to GST in the course or furtherance of business. This is the first part of supply definition. So the term sell, transfer, barter, do you understand barter transaction? We are exchanging goods. What will be the valuation? Maybe you are exchanging your important diamond ring with my gold ring. Tell me the valuation. How you are going to charge GST? Of course, GST applicable on barter, but valuation going to create a problem. I am exchanging diamond ring with a gold ring. But we need to understand those aspects well. Going further, the definition says importation of services. Importation of services. Whether or not for consideration. Whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. When I say this provision, might be you are not catching up, but let me tell you the example. I'm your NRI relative. I'm an architect. And you are constructing your house in Delhi. You wanted Bimal Jain to provide designing. So Bimal Jain has given to you. I'm your relative and you are Delhi based. For sure you are not going to pay me anything, right? Are you going to? You're not going to. Perfect, you're not going to pay me. With a GST applicable. Applicable, right? Who will pay? Recipient, right? Under reverse charge, right? What will be the valuation? What will be the valuation? Apply your mind. What will be the valuation? You have to pay. Bimal Jain has not charged single penny. What will be the valuation? Then the valuation provision says goods and services of like kind and quality. Goods and services of like kind and quality. Meaning thereby, if Bimal Jain would have provided this service to someone in US with $10,000, that would be valuation for you to discharge GST liability. Will you be interested to buy someone that $10,000? You will very well come back and say, Bimalji, I don't want from you. I can take from local architect. He will only charge 10,000 rupees. So this valuation is going to create big problem. Can you make services comparable? It will not be. The same architect sitting in Delhi, he's architect, I'm architect. But in terms of excellency, capability, intellectual, we both are different. And valuation cannot be comparable at all. But that is how you have to discharge GST. Go down further. Even supply without consideration, no consideration, but GST applicable. Schedule 1. There are 5 transactions which is even without consideration GST applicable. And what are those 5 transactions? Permanent transfer of business asset. Business asset or service put to use for private purpose or non-business purpose. Or asset retained after deregistration. Or supply of goods and services by a taxable person to another taxable person or to a non-taxable person in the course of furtherance of business. If I say the provision, I'm sure you will not be able to catch hold of me. Let me do 2-3 case study for all of you. Let's take Reliance Jio has announced JioCard. And you all are employee of Reliance company. I've given you JioCard. Now you're going to use this JioCard for both purpose, for business purpose and for personal purpose. You're sure you're going to call back your wife or girlfriend in the evening, right? Vice versa, both ways. Girls are going to call husband or boyfriend. So what happened when you're using service or business asset for personal purpose with a GST applicable? Why others are silent? Not applicable. Applicable or not? Okay, applicable. What is the valuation? What is the valuation? Goods and services of like kind and quality. So if I have charged 1 rupee per call to independent customer, then I am going to charge 1 rupee multiplied by number of personal calls, right? Perfect, not an issue. then what I'm going to do, I will ask my 10,000 employees to summarize their monthly bill, how many business and how many personal. And that too, if I'm summarizing, whether the tax department would be agreeable to my statement. This is the one component of it. Listen, other component. GST ITC, GST input tax credit. What provision says, if you use any business asset or services for personal purpose, private purpose, credit to that extent is being denied. So here you are denying the credit, which is used for the personal purpose, and here you want me to pay GST on personal purpose, double taxation. This is the provision existing. I do not see these kind of correction as yet. Then they are talking about FOC supplies, free of cost supply, chargeable to GST. So if you are getting one cert free along with another cert, GST applicable. So FOC era gone. Your Navratras, Durga Puja, festival sale all gone. Amazon, Flipkart. Free supply is going to chargeable to GST. And what would be the valuation? Valuation of similar goods and services. Stock transfer. Do one case study on stock transfer. Very important. We all know stock transfer chargeable to GST. Okay, for interstate stock transfer, GST applicable. You will say, sir, IGST credit would be available. There is no problem. There is? Any problem? You all agree, no problem. For me, it looks like there are lot many problems. Let me tell you the problems. Stock transfer, today, only central excise duty levied. No VAT against Form F. Tomorrow, you are going to charge 20% rate, which is not yet decided, going to be decided by GST Council only. If 20% rate decided, then you will first end up paying 7.5% from your own pocket. If you are stock transferring today, is there a guarantee you are going to sell tomorrow? There may be inventory aging 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So what happened? You are paying GST from your working capital to fund government exchequer. And that too on what valuation? Valuation would be transaction value of goods of like kind and quality. So if you are selling at 200 rupees, cost of production is only 100 rupees, GST applicable on 200 rupees. So not only differential 7.5%, you will pay on sale value. So you need more working capital to run your business So what would be your suggestion? Suggestion given by PSG Chamber of Commerce. What suggestion we have given? We say, sir, for stock transfer or sell by agent on behalf of the principal, you should change the valuation mechanism. Either you should make it cost plus 10%, cost of production plus 10%, apply GST, corresponding credit would be available, and when I'm selling at sell price, you will be paid on value addition. That will make your position wiser. You got GST which you wanted on transaction value, and that will also help industry to minimize their working capital need. Am I right? Am I right? But objective is today you may have come with a mindset you want to learn more rather than giving feedback later. No, sir. I really want each one of you to start thinking, because this is going to impact directly or indirectly to all of us together. Though we have given representation, but whether these are being corrected or not corrected, I'm not sure about it. But these are supposed to be. Because when I'm selling, then only I'm being getting the money from my customer. If I'm being asked to pay GST on transaction value on stock transfer, then I will end up using the working capital which I need to take from the bank at interest. So are we taking care of? So these provisions are going to play very, very important role. Thereafter, the definition goes further, that there are certain matters to be treated as supply of goods and supply of services. Schedule 2. We are struggling with double taxation today, and we want certainty and clarity whether my supply is a supply of goods or supply of services. Take example AC restaurant services. On AC restaurant, 10,000 rupees invoice, full VAT is being charged. Then on 40% of 10,000 rupees, service tax is being charged. So we end up paying double taxes. We all want certainty and clarity, whether this is a supply of goods or supply of services. So Schedule 2 has given, and Schedule 2 talks about this is supply of services. So you have to apply GST rate as applicable on supply of services. So to me, it is really good one, providing little certainty that it is supply of service. And declare service, which you have seen under 66E of Finance Act 1994, starting with renting of immovable property, construction before completion certificate, IPR, IT software, agreeing to do and not to do, right to use of movable goods, works contract, AC restaurant. This Schedule 2 says these are supply of services. Well said. Perfect. All right. No problem. But there is one legal problem exists. Let me tell you that legal problem as well. You know Article 366(29)(a). This is deemed sale of goods. This is deemed sale of goods. And this article is being retained even after Constitution Amendment Bill. It is retained. And in this deemed sale of goods, works contract and AC restaurant are deemed sale of goods. Subordinate legislation, which is GST legislation, now they say it's a deemed supply of service. Just imagine a situation if two different GST rate decided for goods standard rate and for services different GST rate. This debate is on what would be standard rate for GST on goods and services. We all are discussing, and our Honorable Finance Minister is saying they want to keep 18% standard rate, but states are demanding GST rates should be more than 20%. So are you going to apply 20% GST rate on services? It's a big million-dollar question. 66% of GDP comes from service sector. Can you apply the same GST rate as applicable on goods at par with services? To me, looks like that will create service inflation and going to hit Aam Aadmi. So they cannot really apply 20% or 22%. I'm not saying may not, cannot. For consumer, price will go up. If price shoots up, it is going to create a chaos. Then looks like to me, and law also says, there's a chargeable section, section 7, model GST law. They say there shall be levied a tax at a rate specified in a schedule. So they are going to specify rate in a schedule for goods and services. So this is very interesting for all of us. If two different rates decided, then this dispute of works contract and AC restaurant, which is deemed sale of goods in terms of Article 366(29)(a, as a deemed supply of services in terms of Schedule 2 from GST law, what is the realistic position? Are we getting clarity or dispute goes on? Second part. Then the definition continues, agent supplying goods on behalf of the principal at agreed consideration. So you know VAT is chargeable only when agent is selling, not the supply transfer is being made, but now that would be chargeable to GST. And at what value? Transaction value. Even though you are selling after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So you have to really determine your working capital need. And there's one subsection which is very interesting one, and to me looks like if dispute persists, then central government and state government may notify on recommendation of GST Council that either this transaction is a supply of goods or supply of services, neither a supply of goods nor supply of services for immovable property. So they have kept provision in such manner that if dispute comes in, they will provide clarification by way of notification and as recommended by GST Council. And the last part of supply definition says, branded service given by aggregator under trade name or brand name is a supply of service GST applicable. So supply definition is too big, and I have done only 5-6 case study. You can carry on doing number of case study and look at impact overall hitting your business operation. Coming back to the definition of goods and services. Important, right? Important. You may be service sector, you are concerned with the services. You are manufacturer come VAT dealer, you are concerned with the goods, right? And even the definition of goods and services, I see subjectivity exist. And what is the definition of goods, by the way? Definition of goods says every kind of movable property other than external claim and money, but includes securities, growing crops, grass, things attached to forming part of land, agreed to be severed before supply or under contract of supply, and movable properties shall not include intangible property. So nicely said. So software, which is intangible, it is not goods, right? So yes or no? Yes. If software loaded on a CD and DVD, it's still, those who are saying no, please listen double, triple, 4 times. Intangible property is a property which is not tangible. And what is tangible property? Which can be touched, which can be felt. If you load software on a CD and DVD, it's a goods as per the Apex Court judgment in the case of TCS. And that judgment continue to say even intangible goods are goods. Where we are. And even the definition of goods which is given in the Constitution of India, they say goods includes all material commodities and articles. You are defining a definition which is contrary to the definition given in the Constitution of India. And what is the meaning of service? Service means anything other than goods is so simple. Is it not? So simple. And service includes intangible property and actionable claim, but not money. Actionable claim case study. Actionable claim is not chargeable to service tax. So he's asking electricity is a goods or? Electricity per se is goods as decided by Apex Court in number of judgment. Of course, but that is how it was dealt with. It is so spontaneous. Its consumption is so spontaneous. But they have said it's even software loaded on a CD and DVD. Electricity passes through a medium of same. That is how. But now these are the points which are very much important for all of us. And let me do 2 case studies for all of you. One is the software. We are saying intangible property is service, but I said what happened for package software? Dispute persists. Actionable claim, which is not chargeable to service tax today, but tomorrow it is treated as a service and GST applicable. Now, goods definition also includes securities, right? Tell me, share, debentures. Do we have now physical form? We are all demat. All demat account, intangible. How it is goods? Tell me, how it is goods? But now they have picked up this definition. So are you going to treat securities which is in demat form, which is intangible, I can't touch? So how the definition is evolving within GST law, it's quite interesting. So I have done the first component of my presentation, which was on supply of goods, supply of services, definition of goods, and definition of services. Even I touched upon business asset or services put to private use. You want me to pay GST, but you're not allowing me corresponding credit. Let me touch one component in the morning session, registration. And very interesting, I didn't see anyone is asking that question. See, registration process says you have to take registration within 30 days. From the date GST liability exists. If you don't apply within 30 days, then are you allowed to avail credit? And there are 2 specific regions. Let's say 1st April, your liability starts. Then you may have purchased prior to 1st April on which you have paid GST. So the first question comes to your mind, can I take credit of GST made, procured, purchased prior to the date of liability exist? I have made application within 30 days. Can I take the credit? GST ITC provision says yes. If you make application within 30 days from the liability to be registered. If you don't take registration within 30 days, then the provision says your date of registration would be from the grant of registration. And then the problem starts. Are you going to deny me the credit of GST paid on input and input services, where I'm not making application within 30 days? I'm just creating some of the component. Maybe there are lot many other items which can touch upon and discussed, but these are very, very important for impact analysis for all of us together. When you go back to your industry, you have to really look at those components. You may be a VAT dealer. You may be a VAT dealer and you're having stock on appointed day. Gupta ji told me in the morning that opening remarks he has touched upon implementation issues. That you are VAT dealer, you are having 10 crore rupees stock on appointed day, 1st April 2017, on which you have taken VAT credit. VAT credit converted into SGST account. What happened for my excise component? I'm a VAT dealer, I may have purchased from excise manufacturer who is a trader also. So I may have excise cum taxable invoice, or I may have purchased from a VAT dealer where he's not raising excisable invoice. But I'm not registered under excise, so I'm not availed SANVIT credit. What happened? Will I not get the SANVIT credit as CGST? The law says no. So what is the way forward? What you are going to suggest? Maybe you are not come up to this label, but PSD has represented and stated to the government. What we are saying to the government, sir, if my stock has suffered the excise component, if I procured from excisable manufacturer, then I may be having excisable invoice on appointed day. You give me corresponding credit to that extent. If I purchase from a VAT dealer, but still excise has been suffered, you give me ad hoc percentage of credit in my CGST account. Otherwise, I will end up paying total CGST from my own pocket. What we are disputing, that when VAT was implemented in the country, they have given credit of stock lying on transition date. And this model GST law is a mixture of, I will say khichdi of custom provision, excise provision, service tax provision, and VAT provision. You picked up a provision which only one-sided view is being looked at. Why can't you pick up other component which is also important? I'm only raising. I'm not raising only issue. I said what we have suggested. Even stock transfer, I've given what we have suggested. So I'm not giving one-sided view of only issues. No way. It is not going to help none of us together. We have to really find out solution. Maybe I may not be having answer right away today, whether there would be two different series, or there would be one different series, or one series, triplicate for goods, duplicate for services, how my within state stock transfer would be dealt if I'm not raising invoice, whether there would be challan. If challan would be there, what would be the format? Number of things we can carry on. But come back. My next point is point of taxation. Point of taxation. What is point of taxation? It is decide point in time when tax is liable to pay, charge. So you know excise is applicable on what? Manufacturing, but payable only on removal of goods. Sale tax is applicable on what? Sale of goods. Right? It is not on advance money, right? Now, I would like to say one more important thing to all of you. Whatever we have learned in existing indirect taxes, we have to unlearn such provision. We have to done away with such provision. And we have to learn GST provision now. And we have to relearn such provision for having more clarity and certainty. So let's start with this POT, point of taxation. There are provisions section 12, section 13, and section 14. Important one. And POT is being determined for forward charge, reverse charge, continuous supply of services, specified cases, and residue cases. Let me do forward charge and reverse charge. What is forward charge? What is forward charge? When supplier has to charge and pay GST. Am I right? Sir, am I right? Yes. So you should sound it. What is reverse charge? Recipient has to pay. So let's do forward charge first. And now forward charge for goods and services. Similarly, reverse charge for goods and services. Let's do forward charge for goods. I'm a supplier. I'm supplying goods to all of you. What would be POT for supplier under forward charge? Earliest of the following. Date of removal of goods wherever movement required. Date of making the goods available wherever movement is not required. Date of issuance of invoice. Date of receipt of money. And date of receipt in your books of accounts. I will do 2 case studies. You give me 10 crore rupees advance today for supply to be made after 3 months. Whether excise applicable? Big no, right? Whether sales tax applicable? But when I have said this provision, time of supply, whether GST applicable? Perfect. GST applicable. So I have to, being supplier, I have to pay GST. So now next question comes, am I supposed to raise invoice for charging GST? Those who are service tax SSC, they must be knowing Rule 4A, Service Tax Rule 1994. And Rule 4A says, I have to raise invoice within 30 days from the receipt of money or completion of service, whichever is earlier. Okay, Bimal Jain will raise the invoice, will charge GST. Now question comes, can you take credit on that particular invoice where receipt of goods and services is not there? To that extent where the government is not unduly benefited? Are you listening me? They are saying, Bimal, you charge and pay GST on advance money received, but you can't take credit. Boss, you should take credit only on receipt of. Sir, I do not understand this component as well. And subsequent question may come up, sir, okay, after 3 months, I'm raising my final invoice. How do I get adjust? Return has taken care of. When you pay GST on invoice raise on advance money, then on the final invoice raise, subsequently on supply, get adjusted. You need not require to pay. Return has got that particulars, automatic particulars. Service tax return has got that kind of feature. Similar. Next, date of receipt in your books of accounts would be the POT for Bimal Jain. Would be the POT for Bimal Jain, for charging GST. If it's an India-Pakistan situation, what happened? You may have mentioned in your invoice inward supply as a receipt. Bimal Jain has not shown an outward supply. So there are many things we have to start thinking. These provisions are simple in a sense when I'm saying, but when you go inside the definition, you will find many things are really evolving and we have to gear it up. What is forward charge for services? Forward charge for services, I'm a service provider. You all are recipient. I have to charge GST on my services. Earliest of the following. Date of invoice, provided invoice raised within specified time period. So 30 days normally it is being given by way of rule. 45 days in case of banking and financial company. Same provision, service tax, copy paste. Same provision. If I'm not raising invoice within the specified time period, date of completion of provision of services, date of completion of provision of services, or date of receipt of money by Bimal Jain, or date of receipt in your books of accounts. Let's do two case study. Okay, advance money I've said chargeable to GST, not an issue. What is date of completion of provision of services? What is the meaning of date of completion of provision of services? Let's say you come to my office and you want one opinion from Bimal Jain. Bimal Jain has given opinion, oral, verbal opinion given to you. You immediately go out and even you're sitting at the reception, you picked up a call and talk to your guy, excise guy. Yes, I've spoken to Bimalji. Bimalji has said like this, do follow like that. So whether this is completion of provision of service or Bimal Jain going to give opinion only after 3 months. What is completion of provision of service? Now you're talking about supply. Supply is made intangible. Is a service intangible? I tell you that take this medicine. Prescription not given. It is not supply? Or do you wait? Completion of provision of service and made it subjective. And that too would be subjective to interpretation. Are you getting my point? So this is the provision. Come to the reverse charge. And very interesting. And reverse charge, have you heard of for goods? Reverse charge. For goods, have you heard of? Sir, suna hai, nahi suna hai? Purchase tax. Right? He has raised his hand, so I said purchase tax. When you buy from unregistered dealer, go to Punjab. UP as well. So, right. I go with you, sir. I go with you. So, there are certain states where purchase tax or tax has to be paid when you are purchasing from unregistered dealer. This is reverse charge mechanism. But now reverse charge in general going to be applicable under GST for specified goods, not in general. Section 7, subsection 3, which is chargeable section, it says government going to notify specified goods and specified services for which reverse charge liability exists. Perfect, no issue. What is POT for reverse charge, by the way? Now, reverse charge POT, earliest of the following. And what is the provision, earliest of the following? Now, your recipient, you have to pay. Bimal Jain is relieved of. Start thinking, ball going to your court. And I'm going to ask you this query. Bahut khana khaya hai na? Let me check this one. So, provision age, date of receipt of goods, date of receipt of invoice, date of making payment, and date of debit in your books of accounts. In your books of accounts. Provision entry passed in your books of accounts. Earliest of the following. Earliest of the same provision they have given for services also. Reverse charge, time of supply, same provision. So let me do two case study. Reverse charge POT under service tax. Reverse charge POT under service tax. What is POT? Rule 7. Date of payment. Provided payment made within 3 months. If payment is not made within 3 months, then the date following the end of 3 months would be the POT. Effective from 1st October 2014. Am I clear about it? It is only for non-associated enterprises. If you are having associated enterprises and reverse charge liability, LG India is making provision for royalty payment to LG Korea on 31st March. Associated enterprises. In that case, POT is date of debit or date of making payment, whichever is. So you have to make service tax payment, even the provision entry pass on 31st March, whenever we are talking about associated enterprises. So there are two components, provision of reverse charge POT for non-associated enterprises and reverse charge POT provision for associated enterprises. But now provision says, in general, leave associated and non-associated. You ask some question, audit wala. You said audit provision entry passed on 31st March, but audit is being conducted only in June and July, and audit report signed in the month of September. Am I supposed to pay GST? That was some provision somebody asked in the first technical session. First of all, we have to see whether that service is under reverse charge. If it is not under reverse charge, then question of provision made is not going to create a problem. But if my service is under reverse charge or goods, then earliest of the following, even the provision made in your books of accounts is a POT triggered. POT triggered, and GST is chargeable under reverse charge liability. So this is common provision for associated and non-associated enterprises. Let me do another component of service, time of supply. They say there's one provision, and this is very specific provision. If a particular service get completed or get interrupted or get closed before actual completion, then the date when it is being stated to be closed. Let's take an example you can understand. Let's say I'm a provider. You wanted one opinion. I said, okay, I will give you the opinion. My opinion charges is 1 lakh rupees. I started my work. You met with N.K. Gupta ji during lunch session. Thought of, यार बिमल जी से क्यों लें? छोड़ो यार, बिमल जी को फोन कर देते हैं. बिमल जी, I don't want opinion from you. Is triggering time of supply in the hands of Bimal Jain, who has already incurred the time and efforts, and GST applicable. Such kind of provision are there in time of supply. So I'm only saying, please, you have to start looking into the provision in extensive part. So when I've done POT, last one is the interesting one, and I require some time. That is the reason I'm just stopping POT and touching place of supply. Why place of supply is important, by the way? Why place of supply important? Please. Okay. So place of supply is important to determine whether my transaction is an intrastate, interstate, import, or export. Perfect. Whenever I talk about intrastate, CGST, SGST. When I talk about interstate, when I talk about import, when I talk about export, zero rated. Zero rated. Perfect. All right. So we all are on the same page. So what is intrastate and what is interstate? This is important. So intrastate provision says, if location of supplier and place of supply is in same state, location of supplier and place of supply is in, that is the silver lining guidelines, principle to determine a transaction. Then it is called intrastate. And what is interstate? Location of supplier and place of supply is in two different states. Right? So what could be location of supplier? Important. So location of supplier, the place of business for which registration is taken. If that not be the case, then the fixed establishment. Maybe I have taken registration in Delhi, but I am providing services from my Mumbai office. Fixed establishment. And fixed establishment is being determined or characterized by sufficient degree of permanence of human and technical resources. So my team who is sitting in Mumbai is providing services, not the Delhi registered office. If it is not fixed establishment, establishment most directly concerned. Establishment most directly concerned. So the place where from you are providing the services. If that not be the case, then usual place of residence. They have given location of supplier for services, but location for supplier of goods is not being provided in model GST law. But now location, I've told you, now place of supply going to be important. Before I start place of supply, you would be recalling place of provision of services rule 2012. Under service tax provision, Rule 3, default rule, location of recipient. Rule 4, performance base. Rule 5, location of immovable property. Rule 6, place of event organized. Rule 7, where greatest portion of taxable service as specified in Rule 4, 5, 6 is provided in taxable territory. Rule 8, if service provider and service recipient both located in taxable territory, location of recipient. Rule 9, location of service provider, banking and financial company. Right? Rule 10, transportation of goods. Rule 11, transportation of passengers. Rule 12, value-added services while in a conveyance, aircraft. So how these rules are being captured in place of supply provision, and the two important sections. In Section 5, place of supply for goods. Section 6, place of supply for services. And what is the provision says for place of supply for goods? They say, wherever goods movement is required, then the place where transportation terminates, that would be the place of supply. That would be the place of supply. Wherever movement is not required, place where the delivery is being made, wherever transfer of title in goods by transferring the document, then the provision says, because there are three parties involved, E1, E2 sale concept, bill to ship to model, then for intermediary, principal place of business, and for the ultimate customer, wherever transportation terminates. For installation and commissioning, place of installation and commissioning. And wherever goods are loaded on a conveyance, then the place where these are being loaded. These are the provision given. But service is very important for place of supply. So let me do 2-3 case study for service. But before that, listen to some of the provision and understand how this provision are impacting overall business. See, place of supply for services, default rule is B2B and B2C. If it is B2B, means one tin to another tin number, right? Location of recipient. Location of recipient. If it is B2C, location of supplier. Am I clear about it? Immovable property, location of immovable property. Event, organized, place of event. When I'm saying such provision, you might not be getting in interest and importance. But let me take example, now you will get the importance. Let's say we both are Delhi based. You are in Delhi, I am in Delhi, and there is one legal case coming up in Bombay High Court. You ask Mr. Bimal Jain to go to Bombay and appear on your behalf in the Bombay High Court. Bimal Jain is registered in Delhi. Bimal Jain goes to Mumbai, stays in a Le Méridien Hotel. Le Méridien Hotel. Now this hotel is going to charge GST to Bimal Jain. So please tell me, for this Le Méridien Hotel, whether that would be intrastate transaction or interstate transaction. For sure. And how you determine? Location of supplier, Le Méridien. Place of supply, location of immovable property, Maharashtra. So Le Méridien is going to charge CGST and Maharashtra SGST. Am I clear about it? Now what Bimal Jain going to do with Maharashtra SGST? Bimal Jain is registered only in Delhi. Please tell me. What Bimal Jain going to do with Maharashtra SGST? Cost, complete cost. Come to the CGST component. Now there may be two views possible, and believe me, debate is on, even on the CGST component. CGST is a central levy, and it should not be looked into from state perspective. It should be allowed to be cross-utilized across the state. Am I right? But there's a debate going on. Even the CGST component is a state-specific, which we are questioning why it should be like that. I do understand Maharashtra SGST, I will not get credit in Delhi ledger, and I will not be able to utilize cost. You are in NCR region, Delhi based. You organize a show in Gurgaon Hotel. In Gurgaon Hotel. We normally do, right? Sometimes we go to Radisson Blu, Noida, Sector 18, Noida. Now they're going to invoice you, right? Though you are registered in Delhi, but for that hotel, that would be intra-state or interstate. They are going to charge UP SGST or Haryana SGST. What you will do? Sir, what I said to you, if I say place of supply and tell you the provision, you will not understand the implication. You will understand the implication only when you start thinking. And I was also discussing one point, one chartered accountant having office in Delhi. And he's serving to all the customers across India, sitting in Delhi. Is he required to take registration in 29 states? Say yes louder. Yes or no? No, because he's supplying only from Delhi. But let's say he is having 29 offices in 29 states. And then he's supplying, giving services from their local office. Then is he required to take registration in 29 states? So he has to move from centralized to decentralized registration. So registration has also got the impact to look into. Now, I have discussed place of supply and told you, see, chargeability exists, but you can't take credit. So you have to really start thinking. Transportation of goods. Transportation of goods. Rule 10, place of provision of services rule. I was on a point that transportation of goods, rule 10, place of destination of goods, right? Provision gone. Now, if you go to place of supply for transportation of goods, provision says place of supply in case of B2B transaction, location of recipient. Location of recipient. In case of B2C, the place where goods are delivered for the transportation. Take an example that you and I'm a GTA transporter. I'm transporting. Both are in Delhi. Both are in Delhi. But both are in Delhi, and I'm transporting goods to Haryana, whether intrastate or interstate. Intra or inter? Intra, because place of supply, location of recipient. So these provision important. Banking and financial company, last one, then I will sum up. Banking and financial company, rule 9 POP provision, location of supplier, location of supplier. But now provision says, if services are related to the account holder, then location of recipient. Location of recipient. If it is not related to the account holder, then location of supplier. Look at bank is giving services to so many large customer base, right? And those customer base are account holder. So intra and inter need to be determined in that manner only. So one provision which is very, very interesting, section 53, which I have categorically said, and last is import and export. I have said that import and export need to be determined again from the place of supply provision. But what is takeaway from my technical session? From my technical session, I want to give you 5 bullet points. What are those 5 bullet points? And if you want to look at from your industry perspective, what you should look into. You go back and first check your registration status. You may be having 4 manufacturing plants in a state. Now, do you require to have 4 registrations? Check from those perspectives. Second, when registration I'm dealing with, I will move further and I will again start taxability. Before deciding taxability, go to the transition provision. If I'm excise cum VAT dealer, I may have availed SANVIT credit and VAT credit. No problem. But if I'm only a VAT dealer, not excise manufacturer or first stage dealer or second stage dealer, how I'm going to handle those situations? Shall I continue with interstate purchase in the transition time period, 3 to 6 months? Stop it, minimize it, CST. There are certain transition provisions, which I'm not handling today, but would be of great importance to analyze the impact. Coming to the last and foremost point, which is important for all of us together, I'm maintaining 29 warehouses today just to raise taxable invoice. Am I supposed to carry on post GST? No, not required. You are maintaining 29 warehouses just to raise taxable invoice, but tomorrow IGST model is available. You have to create warehouse wherever you required. So it's not the biggest indirect tax reform, it's the biggest business reform. Your warehouse should be centered nearer to your customer place. So you can look at your business model. Do you require to maintain such warehouses? Do you require inventory? Do you require manpower cost? Do you require infrastructure costs? Many things we can start working on. And that is how real meaning of GST. And when we talk about profiteering and loss from GST, this is the real profiteering and loss from GST. Not understanding inter, that is not the biggest one. Interesting one is how we are doing business today and how my business getting evolved tomorrow post GST, and how these provisions are helping me. If not helping me, how we can represent to the concerned government ministry, and how PSD can come forward to contribute and support to your cause. I'm giving this last statement to all of you, that if at all you're having query, you're free to come back to us, write back your suggestion, feedback, whatever you have in your mind. And this model GST law, 195 section, more than 183 places, is said in a manner as prescribed, and that draft rules comes with 1 day notice for a suggestion, and that is approved without intimation to the trade. What is approved by GST Council? Can you ask Bimaljan what is being approved there? But nevertheless, what we all are looking for, we are looking for PPP, public-private partnership. GST definitely a big game changer. Multiplicity will go away. Cascading will go away. Double taxation will go away. Uniformity will come. Definitely add to our advantage. And something is always better than nothing. But it's better if we can prepare ourselves for an event which can happen either way, positive or negative. If we can capture negative part at an early date, we can find correct mechanism. And that's what the objective of this knowledge reach, which is going to be organized by PSD Chamber of Commerce. So I'm thankful to each one of you for giving me patient listening. Thank you. Thank you very much.